I can put that.
Well, I have a book.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. We're studying from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3, Chapter 4, entitled Vidura Approaches Maitreya. We're on text 25. It's February 24th, 2023. Narayanam namaskritya naram chaivanarottamam devim sarasvatim vyasam tatojayam udhiraya. Before reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is the very means of conquest, one should first offer respectful obeisances to the personality of Godhead Narayana, to Narayan Rishi, the supermost human being, to Mother Sarasvati, the goddess of learning, and unto Srila Vyasadeva, the author. Nasta prayeshu vajreshu nityam bhagavata sevaya bhagavat yutamashloke bhaktir bhavati naistiki. Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3, Chapter 4, Text 25. We'll start with the Sanskrit words responsively. Vidura uvacha jnanam param svatma raha prakasham yad aha yogeshvara ishvaras te vaktum bhavan norhati yad di vishnur bricha svabricharta kritash sharanti vidura uvacha yam param svatma raha prakasham yad aha yogeshvara ishvaraste bhaktum bhavan norhati yadi vishnur Bricha svabricha takritas charanti Vidura uvacha Nam param svatmaraha prakasham Yad aha yogeshvara ishvaraste Bhaktum bhavan norhati yadi vishnur Bricha svabricha takritas charanti Vidura uvacha Yanam param svatmaraha prakasham Yad aha yogeshvara ishvaraste Bhaktum bhavan norhati yadi vishnur Bricha svabricha takritas charanti
Vidura uvacha Nam param svatmaraha prakasham
Yanam param svatmaraha prakasham
Yada yogeshvara ishvaraste
Yada yogeshvara ishvaraste
Bhaktum bhavano harati yadi vishnu
Bhaktum bhavan norhati yadi vishnur
Nitya svabhajya takritas charanti
Bricha svabricha takritas charanti.
Dhira vacha.
Vidura uvacha.
Jnanam param svatmaraha prakasham.
Jnanam param svatmaraha prakasham.
Ishvara ishvaraste.
Yada yogeshvara ishvaraste.
Vishnu.
Vatum bhavanor hatiyati vishnor.
Vidya svabhritya takritascharanti.
Vidya svavidyartha kritasasti.
Vidura vacha.
Vidura vacha.
Param svatmaraham prakasham.
Jnanam param svatmaraham prakasham.
Yadaha yogeshvara ishvaraste.
Yada yogeshvaraste.
Bhaktum bhavano hati yatti Vishnu.
Vatum bhavanor hatiyati vishnor.
Tyaya swabhartaya kritascharanti.
Prijas vavidyartha kritascharanti.
Vidura vacha.
Vidura vacha.
Svatmaraha prakasham.
Jnanam param svatmaraha prakasham.
Yogeshvara ishvaraste.
Yada yogeshvara ishvaraste.
Bhaktum bhavanarhati yadi Vishnu.
Vatum bhavanor hatiyati vishnor.
Yah swamrityartha kritascharanti.
Prijas vavidyartha kritascharanti.
Vidura vacha.
Vidura vacha. Jnanam param svatmaraha prakasham.
Ishvaraste.
Yada yogeshvara ishvaraste.
Vishnu.
Vatum bhavanor hatiyati vishnor. Prijas vavidyartha kritascharanti. Would someone online like to lead the recitation?
Vidura uvacha.
Vidura uvacha.
Jnanam param svatmaraha prakasham.
Jnanam param svatmaraha prakasham.
Yada yogeshvara ishvaraste.
Yada yogeshvara ishvaraste.
Bhaktum bhavanorati adi Vishnur.
Vatum bhavanor hatiyati vishnor.
Pritya svabrityartha kritascharanti.
Prijas vavidyartha kritascharanti. Hare Krishna. Thank you, Anandini. That's Anandini joining us from Switzerland. So we have an international group here. Vidura uvacha. Vidura said, Jnanam, knowledge, param, transcendental, sva atma, regarding the self, raha, mystery, prakasham, enlightening, yat, that which, aha, said, yoga ishvara, the master of all mystics, ishvara, the Lord, te, unto you, bhaktum, to narrate, bhavan, your good self, na, unto me, arhati, deserve, yat, for, he, reason of, Vishnu, of Lord Vishnu, Pricha, servants, Svabritya Arta Krita.
Svabritya
For the interest of their servants.
for the interest of the servants.
Charanti. Do wander.
Do one.
Translation. Vidura said, O Uddhava, because the servants of Vishnu, the Lord, wander in the interest of serving others, it is quite fit that you kindly describe the self-knowledge with which you have been enlightened by the Lord himself. Purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. The servants of the Lord are actually the servants of society. They have no interest in human society other than to enlighten it in transcendental knowledge. They're interested in imparting knowledge of the relationship of the living being with the Supreme Lord, the activities in that transcendental relationship, and the ultimate goal of human life. That is the real knowledge which can help society achieve the real aim of human welfare. Knowledge in the matter of the bodily necessities of eating, sleeping, mating, and fearing, transformed it into various branches of advancement of knowledge, is all temporary. A living being is not the material body, but an eternal part and parcel of the Supreme Being, and thus revival of his self-knowledge is essential. Without this knowledge, the human life is baffled. The servants of the Lord Vishnu are entrusted with this responsible work, and so they wander over the earth and to all other planets in the universe. Thus, the knowledge which was received by Uddhava directly from the Lord deserves to be distributed in human society, especially to persons like Vidura, who are highly advanced in the devotional service of the Lord. Real transcendental knowledge descends in the disciplic succession from the Lord to Uddhava, from Uddhava to Vidura, and so on. Such supreme transcendental knowledge is not possible to achieve by the process of imperfect speculation as performed by the so-called learned mundane wranglers. Vidura was anxious to know from Uddhava that confidential knowledge known as Paramamstitim, in which the Lord is known by his transcendental pastimes. Although Vidura was older than Uddhava, he was anxious to become a servant of Uddhava in the transcendental relationship. This formula of transcendental disciplic succession is taught by Lord Chaitanya also. Lord Chaitanya advises that one receive transcendental knowledge from anyone, whether a Brahmin or a Sudra, a householder, or a sannyasi, provided that person is factually conversant with the science of Krishna. A person who knows the science of Krishna is factually a bona fide spiritual master. Om Ganatimirandasya Gananjana Shalagaya Chakshurmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayamrupa Kadamayam Dadati Svapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Utapadakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Saganaraganatanditam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitan Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sagana Lalita Shri Dishakanditamscha Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopisha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostate Tapta Kanchana Gaurange Radhe Vrindavaneshre Vishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Panchakalpata Yubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Vyevacha Patitanan Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pacharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Desha Tarine Srimad Bhagavatam Canto 3 Chapter 4 Text 25 Vidura Uvacha Ginam Param Svatmaraha Prakasham Yad Aha Yogeshvara Ishvaraste Bhaktum Bhavanor Hati Adi Vishnur Pritya Svabhrityartha Kritas Charanti. Vidura said, O Uddhava, because the servants of Vishnu, the Lord, wander in the interest of serving others, it is quite fit that you kindly describe the self-knowledge with which you have been enlightened by the Lord himself. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
So in the verse, Vidura is speaking about sharing this transcendental knowledge to serve others. Prabhupada, in the purport, Prabhupada very lucidly comments on each aspect of the verse. And Prabhupada starts his purport, the servants of the Lord are actually the servants of society. So if one embraces the process of bhakti yoga and practices Krishna consciousness, so there could be some conception, oh, now you're escaping from society, or you're a parasite, or that sort of thing. Won't go into a whole dramatic history here, but back, I was first exposed to Krishna consciousness in 1980 at a preaching center in State College, Pennsylvania. My only service for about 3 years was consuming copious quantities of prasadam. But then I started chanting, and then actually in Israel, in the Middle East, in 1984, I joined the Bhakti Yoga Ashram outside of Tel Aviv. And certainly after that, in 1984, I went back to visit my parents in the Philadelphia area, and they actually kidnapped me. And so, because they just thought like I'm ruining my life, I'm wasting my life. And it's a whole story. It actually has a happy ending, because if we fast forward 28 years or so, both my mother in 2010 and then my father in 2012, they left their body absorbed in the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. So it has a happy ending. There was many chapters in between. But anyhow, we can see from the mentality, they cared about me, they loved me and all that. But their conception was like, now you're escaping from life. You won't contribute to society. There's a common conception like that. If you give yourself to not just Krishna consciousness, but anyone like standing strong for spiritual life. I know when I lived in Israel, many of the parents whose sons or daughters, when they dedicated themselves to the yeshiva to become Orthodox religious Hasidic Jews, then many of the secular parents also, it was the same thing. Like, what are you doing with your life? You should. Okay. So of course, clearly Bhakti Yoga is very world embracing. It's not world rejecting. So one might be serving society in the role of a farmer, a doctor, a lawyer, a university professor, while fully dedicated to Bhakti Yoga. We know that Bhakti Yoga includes all of that, but there's some conception. So what's stressed here is that the greatest way one can contribute to society is to give real knowledge. So that's what's stressed here. Is to give real knowledge. So knowledge, like in the 13th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, texts 8 to 12, Krishna talks about the process of knowledge, and he describes 18 or 19 qualities that stem from knowledge and that inspire knowledge. And it starts with humility. And it includes Janma, Mritu, Jara, Vyadi, Dukkha, Dosha, Anudarshana, realizing the inherent unnaturalness. Prabhupada translates it as the inherent evil of the spirit soul being stuck in a body that's subject to birth, death, old age, disease, like that. So we could say, well, I thought knowledge would be like memorizing the periodic table. And I know when I was growing up, it was actually 108 elements. I'm sure it's much more now. But somehow it was 108 elements back in the 1970s. Now, they have all these half-life of, a billionth of a second or something. So there are more elements. But again, knowledge is Knowledge is, yeah, who won the World Cup final in 1952, or is it something like that? Okay, so we're distinguishing between actual knowledge and information or data, or data. So what's described here is that like actual knowledge is realizing, well, there's jnanam and vijnanam. Jnanam vijnanam astikyam brahma karma sabhavajam. So actual knowledge is realizing the distinction between spirit and matter, between soul and body. C.S. Lewis, Christian philosopher and writer, he said, you don't have a soul. You are a soul. You have a body. Okay? So that's knowledge. That's universal knowledge. And so, and Prabhupada comments there in his commentary that there could be so many various branches of knowledge. And if in the name of psychology or physics or chemistry or politics or economics, if one's endeavoring in those fields, but the so-called advancement of knowledge just reinforces the misconception that I am this body and I'll be happy by gratifying the needs of the body, then that's nescience. It's the opposite of knowledge. That's nescience. And whether we're talking about gross body or the subtle material body, mind, intelligence, false ego, like that, that's actually nescience. That's ignorance. Okay. It's described about the field of modern psychology. The first modern psychology, first it lost its soul, then it lost its conscience, and now it's lost its mind altogether. It's a saying about, because if we look at the history of modern psychology, first they were just like, we don't need this concept of a soul, and then we don't need this concept of ethics or morality. And now the idea is there's not even anything such as a mind. It's just all machine life. It's just all machine life. So that becomes a technology. If in the name of science, it's simply a technology to try to enhance sense gratification, then from the Bhagavatam point of view, from Bhagavad Gita point of view, it's not actual knowledge. Again, this whole process of Krishna consciousness, bhakti yoga, it's world embracing. So it's not about rejecting all these fields of human endeavor. There's a verse from Narada Muni, idam vipumsas tapasashutasya suktasya sviktasya chaburi datayo avichuturta kavibir nirupito yadutamashloka jnanavarnanam. And so Narada Muni is saying, like, and Narada Muni Prabhupada in the purport saying, chemistry, physics, political science, social work, social science. Yeah, that these are all energies of Sri Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So when they're used, when they're used to enhance realization, of who we are is not this body, a spirit, soul, and Jivara, Supoi, Krishnera, Nityadas, Krishnera, Tatasta Shakti, Beta, Beta Prakash, and eternal servants of Krishna. Then that's the completion, that's the perfection. Yeah. And otherwise, Shrama Evi Kevalam, then otherwise it's at best a useless waste of time. And I remember in the seminars we conduct, Mother Malini and I, going back decades, we've developed these Vaishnav-based transformational seminars and programs and coach training. We have our coach training school. And so our attempt is to use communication training, leadership training, psychology, social work, coaching, to not just yukta vairagya, not just use it in Krishna service, but to illustrate experientially and conceptually how everything that's valid in all these fields not just can be used in Bhakti Yoga, but finds its completion, source, and perfection in the teachings of Srila Prabhupada, in Srimad Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita. That's our attempt. That's our endeavor. So, this was in 2015. I was in Golden, Colorado. It's a town in Colorado, and I was invited to give a talk. I was invited to give a presentation, a workshop, to the faculty of a hospital. It was a veterans hospital that treats like those who fought in wars and things. And so the audience was doctors, nurses, mostly medical professionals, some social workers, some psychiatrists. So I started the talk and I said, let's say someone comes to you and says, I've hurt my finger. Now, I said to the doctors, nurses, I said, well, in that simple phrase, my finger, I'm just, we borrow all this from Prabhupada. In that simple phrase, my finger, there are two entities. There's the finger and there's the owner of the finger. So I asked the doctors, nurses, who are you treating? Someone comes to you, are you treating the finger or the owner of the finger? So they looked rather stunned. The director of the hospital system, he was there. After a few seconds, he said, well, David, that's a simple question. But we've never really thought about it. So I said, yeah, it's an important question. Because the finger is made of the same stuff as this table or the window shade. It's dead matter. There's no healing potency in the finger. There's no healing potency in the finger. The healing potency is in that irreducible quantum of consciousness. That's the owner of the finger. So we're endeavoring in the talk to doctors, nurses. We're endeavoring to open the door to what is the distinction between spirit and matter, body and soul? What's eternal, what's temporary? Like that, like that. So, yes, as Srimad Bhagavatam, this verse spoken by Vidura, really, if we take it back a few iterations, spoken by Srila Shukadev Goswami, and that's narrated by Srila Sutta Goswami, and it's all narrated by Srila Vyasadeva. So related, so this is real knowledge. See, and anything else, then it's, to use a metaphor, anything we might advance in other areas, but it could be like rearranging the chairs on the ship of the Titanic. Okay. Meaning, okay, this ship's going down. This ship's going down. The body is going down, which means to the extent that we identify, Bhagavatam describes Bayan Dvitiya Bhagavesha Tasya, the root cause of all insecurity and the root cause of all anxiety. If you've ever struggled with insecurity or anxiety, raise your hand. Okay. So, practically, we might have the 7.2 billion people on the planet all ready to raise their hand. So Bhagavatam, it's quite simple. The root cause of all anxiety is misidentification of the eternal spirit self with the temporary body. That's it. That's it. So if we're not addressing that, well, if we are addressing that, we're doing real service to the world. And if we're not addressing that, we might be honored, we might get a big salary, we might get profit, adoration, distinction, and we're implicated in wasting people's time. Okay. So Vyasadeva, many or most of you probably know some of the history. It's described in the first canto of Bhagavatam, and so Vyasadeva, he was that he was despondent because he gave all the Vedas. but he said, if people aren't going to get it, they're not going to get it. It's like they'll be too, especially in this Yuga Manda Sumada Mateo Manda Bhagi Pajuta. So then his spiritual master Narada Muni came. Narada Muni says, you're depressed, you're despondent. What's happening? Vyasadeva said, you don't even need to ask. You're deeply empathic, you're deeply intuitive, you know my heart. So you know what's happening. Narada Muni said, yeah, you're right. I do know what's happening. Yeah, you're despondent because even though you did this most amazing literary achievement, the Puranas, the Upanishads, the Rig Veda, like that. Yeah. Narada Muni actually, he referred to all those Vedas as tat vayasam tirtam, which means like a pilgrimage place for crows, for crows, like the crows will gather around where there's like blood and stool and garbage and trash. You would think Vyasadeva is writing some cheap romance novels or something, but he wrote the Vedas. Narada was a waste of time. Because, people aren't going to get the point. So as a result of the conversation with his spiritual teacher, Narada Muni, Sri Vyasadeva, they're at Samyapras, surrounded by berry bushes. Sri Vyasadeva, he goes into a trance of bhakti yogana manasi, samyak pranite male. Apasha, pusham purnam, mayam chatad, ahitukam. He goes into a trance of bhakti and he realizes the absolute truth. And the absolute truth is not the jiva. The absolute truth is not nothing. The absolute truth is not matter. The absolute truth is not the great oneness. It's not even the spirit soul, the substratum of all existence. That which is absolutely true in all time and space, the source of everything, the soul of the soul is Sri Krishna, the supreme person. Sri Krishna, the supreme person. And then further in this trance, and Vyasadeva sees Maya, an energy of Krishna on the back, Sri Stiti Pralaya Sadhana Shaktireka Chayeva Yasya Bhuvanani Bhivarti Durga Ichandavupamapi Yasya Chachestas Tesa Govinda Mahadi Pusham Tamaham Bhajan. So he sees, so this Maya, she's a servant of Krishna, and that's the material energy. And so she's at the back of Krishna. And so Yaya Samohito Jiva Atmakam Tri Gunatmakam Paropi Manote Natam Tatkritam Chabipadyate. And Vyasadeva sees that the Jiva souls, especially as this Kali Yuga goes on, suffering, misery, torment. And the root cause, misidentification of the spirit self with the temporary body. And that's the term anarta. Anarta means an unwanted thing, that which is superfluous to the self. Okay. So that's like the root of all anartas. This whole, the body, the conception, I am this body. I am this material mind. That's superfluous to the self. Anarta pasamam sakshat bhakti yoga madhokshaje. Lokasya jantad vidvams chakre satvata samhitam. So as a result, Vyasadeva wrote this Bhagavatam. Okay, and so this is the natural follow-up to Bhagavad Gita. Bhagavad Gita, well, not right at the very beginning, but the first, let's call it primarily philosophical section. Antabhakti Medeha Nitya Saririna. Vinashama Vyasya Nat Kashtit Kotumaharasi. So Krishna says that know that which pervades the body, the owner of the finger, can never be destroyed. We really get that? That's liberation. That's freedom. That's freedom from anxiety. Antavati medeha nitya saririna. Anasino prameyasya tasma jujaspa bharata. Okay, that that's no one can destroy the imperishable soul like that. So this is real knowledge. So this is the real. Of course, someone might come to Bhakti Yoga or Krishna consciousness because they do want to escape, and Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Chadurvida Vijantamam Jana Sukritino Togi Artoti Gana. People approach me for all different reasons that are not completely pure. And to want to avoid one's responsibility is not a pure reason. Okay. But it's like, it's the Vedic trick. Okay. Like for whatever reason, someone comes to Krishna consciousness, someone comes to Prabhupada's movement, and for whatever the reasons, then it's auspicious, because then from where we're at, we'll get purified, because we're connected with this transcendental process, transcendental vibration. So, yes. So then and in one sense, that knowledge, Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Ginam Teham Saviginam Idam Bhakshami Seshata Yajgatva Neobhyonejgatavyam Eva Shishatu. Krishna says that I should now declare into you, Arjuna, this knowledge about matter, about spirit, everything noumenal and everything material and spiritual, noumenal and phenomenal. Okay. And after this, there's nothing that remains to be known. So there's no literature that compares to Bhagavad Gita. And that's why some could see it as like an arrogant title, Bhagavad Gita, as it is. It's actually the most humble title. Because Prabhupada's saying, no, I'm not giving my opinion. I'm not introducing any agenda, just as it is, fully representing Krishna. Humble. That's humble. I'm an instrument of Krishna, as Krishna says, Nimitta Matram Bhavasabhyasachi. And therefore, even though there's been hundreds of versions of Bhagavad Gita in Western languages, and people appreciated them since the 1700s, but all those Bhagavad Gitas combined didn't transform powerfully even a percent of the lives that Prabhupada's Bhagavad Gita transformed within a few years. And that's because Prabhupada was presenting it as it is, full potency. And that's described here. And there's so much in this verse. Any one of these verse and purports can be like, we could do like a whole course for 3 months, but we try to do something in 30 minutes, So Prabhupada talks about the disciplic succession, because that's it. Kiba Vipra Kiba Nyasi Suja came to Naya. Say, Ye Krishna Tattva Veda, say Guru Hai. So this is, like the term yoga, guru, it's come to mean so many things. But this is a true spiritual teacher, is one who's realized in Krishna Tattva, the science of Krishna. And so this is because we know in the name of spiritual life, there's so much cheating going on. And I'm sad to say, more and more as the years go on, in the name of bhakti, there's so much cheating going on. And in the name of Prabhupada, there's so much cheating going on. So I pray that I'm not going to contribute to the cheating, and that whatever I say, whatever I do, represents Prabhupada authentically. Because even this, because what's described here, Prabhupada's referencing, and Vidura is referencing, Sambandha, Abhideya, and Prayoja. Sambandha, that's knowledge of the relationship between the spirit, soul, and Krishna. Ekaleshvara Krishna, Arasabhavricha. Krishna is the master, we are servants. And then the activities in those relationships, the different rasas, and then Prabhupada terms it as the ultimate goal of human life, prema bhumar, ato mahan. Love of God, the fruits of acting in those relationships. So that knowledge, that's more complete than simply knowledge of the distinction between spirit and matter. Distinction between spirit and matter, that's important. In itself, though, Prabhupada says, in itself, though, that doesn't really qualify one as a true Brahmin. A true Brahmin also has knowledge about what does that self and self-realization do, the activities devotional service. So, all right. So for me, this relates to, yeah, like, so sometimes we hear, but you need a living guru. Okay. So now, of course, if we research everything Srila Prabhupada said about living guru or living spiritual master, if we research everything he said about it, we'll find that he said nothing about it. Nothing, zero, zilch. It's not there. No, not in the books, not in the conversations, not in the lectures, not in the personal letters, nothing. Because the whole concept, it's not Prabhupada's paradigm. First of all, living guru means there's something called a dead guru, which is what's being promoted. Okay. So Prabhupada never once mentioned living guru, living spiritual master. I mean, once one of his disciples asked, oh, but don't the Christians need a living guru? And Prabhupada said, well, they have Jesus, they have a Bible. Well, no, I mean living guru. And then Prabhupada said, guru means living. It was almost like, this is in Seattle, I think 1969. It was almost like Prabhupada couldn't even relate to the question. So it's very interesting because these terms, living guru, living spiritual, I mean, there's just like millions of times. I mean, that's like the whole culture. So, but if we go back to the source, we'll find Prabhupada never mentioned anything about it because the whole paradigm, the whole concept, it's apasiddhanta, related to what is knowledge and what is nescience. Because the idea, basically the idea, it's form of mayavad or sahajya. The whole idea is to really advance in Krishna consciousness, you need someone like me or one of my good friends, because we've got these lungs and this windpipe and these lips and this tongue, which of course is matter. If you don't get vibration from that, you'll never advance. So basically, what is dead is being misperceived as living, like the dead matter. And Prabhupada's Vani and Vapu, Prabhupada's Vani and Vapu, which is completely alive, is seen as dead. So that's the essence. That's the essence of Mayavad, confusing matter and spirit. The idea of Mayavad is that Krishna's spiritual body is actually made of motive sattva. And the essence of Sahajya is also confusing spirit and matter in the other way, right? That this material body is spiritual and Krishna wants to enjoy it. Okay. So this whole living guru, it's forms of, it's missing, let's not even talk about esoteric philosophy. It's missing, right? The distinction between, it's missing Bhagavad Gita 101, the ABCs of spiritual life. We don't even, it's not very sophisticated. It's missing the basics. And so we're starting with the wrong numbers. The equation will not come out. It will be a festival of misery. We can guarantee it. We're starting with the wrong numbers there. So, yeah. So, yeah. So just like, you know, there were attempts back about 46 years ago to kill Prabhupada's Vapu. So what we're talking about here, we're just touching opening the door to attempts to kill Prabhupada's Vani, Okay. So of course, we're all here to take a stand. That's not going to happen. We're here to take that stand. A few weeks ago, I was in Switzerland, also in Czech Republic, and Anandini, who's here from Switzerland online, but she shared with me that not too long ago, she had an associate who's a young man who's serving as like a young up and coming leader in some part of the ISKCON organization. And so she shared with me that he shared with her a realization he had. And the realization he had was that actually Srila Prabhupada was very influential in spreading Krishna consciousness in this Krishna conscious movement. Prabhupada actually played a big role. So Malini is laughing because if you don't laugh, you'll cry. Yeah. So of course we can in one sense commend the realization. Then Anandini shared with me kind of like, it would be like if someone said, I just realized Jesus was actually a pretty important person in spreading Christianity. Wow. So it's like, it's a nice realization. If you don't laugh, you'll cry. It's a nice realization. At the same time, it indicates how effective in some sectors is the movement to bury Prabhupada. I hate to use the term, but fortunately, we're all here to take a stand about Prabhupada. Prabhupada is fully living, fully available to be one's current direct link to Sri Krishna's parampara. And, for that to not be known, that's a tragedy. That's a tragedy. Yesterday, Jai Chaitanya Prabhu, we spoke for a few minutes, and I was just very inspired by what you shared briefly about your recent your recent associations in South America, but Peru particularly, but connecting with other countries in South America. So Jai Chaitanya is here. You're based in Bangalore. But it was very inspiring for me because, we talked about there's a lot of cheating in the name of spiritual life, in the name of bhakti, in the name of Prabhupada. Shruti Smriti Purnadi Pancharatra Vidim Vida Vaikantaki Harya Bhakti Utpatai Yaiva Kalpit. That Prabhupada quotes that verse a lot. That bhakti done not according to the actual siddhanta of the parampara, the succession, it can feel nice, it can look, but it's actually it's a disturbance. So there's so there's one particular apasiddhanta guru in quotes, and then he had lots of followers. Then he ran into problems, whatever. But then he's left with thousands, maybe even tens of thousands of people who their hearts are crushed, and many of them because they're not maybe strong enough in Prabhupada Siddhanta, they just leave Krishna consciousness altogether out of cynicism. But at least there's some significant group, and so Jai Chaitanya, you were sharing with me that many of them are they're just awakening to the reality, to the good news, that we can take direct shelter in Srila Prabhupada. Mm-hmm. And then that's like, wow. Okay. So that's so encouraging to hear that they're not, at least many of them, they're not jaded, they're not cynical. They're not so cynical that they're just giving this. It's like, we can actually take direct shelter in Prabhupada. And of course, keep it brief, keep it nyasa. Yari dekatari Krishna Upadesh Amaragai Guru Hanatari Edesh. And of course, we're all meant to be gurus. And the way that I endeavored to be guru is to support and encourage people to establish and develop their direct personal relationship with Srila Prabhupada. But Srila Prabhupada is their direct and current link to Sri Krishna's parampara. So that's not that I'll be your link to Prabhupada. And neither is it sort of like, I have nothing to do with it. No, I'm here. I'm here to endeavor to be inspired and to endeavor to inspire you to cultivate, establish, develop, strengthen your personal relationship with Srila Prabhupada. That's how we get to be Siksha Gurus like that. Hare Krishna. I'll read the verse again. Canto 3, Chapter 4, Text 25. Vidura vacham yanam param swatmaraha prakasham yad aha yogeshvara ishvaraste bhaktum bhavanor hati adi vishnur vicha swabrijarta kutaschanti. Vidura said, O Uddhava, because the servants of Vishnu, the Lord, wander in the interest of serving others, it is quite fit that you kindly describe the self-knowledge with which you have been enlightened by the Lord himself. Hare Krishna. Thanks for being present. Thanks for listening. Thanks for hearing Srimad Bhagavatam. I welcome at this time if anyone would like to share any comments, realizations, inspirations, or ask any questions. Jai Chaitanya Prabhu. I'm going to adjust this here. Yeah.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Prabhu, in the purport,
Yeah.
you see the last sentence of Prabhupada.
Yeah.
And Prabhupada says the person who knows the science of Krishna
Yeah.
is factually a bona fide spiritual master.
Yeah.
Well, this kind of gives a tendency that if I know Krishna consciousness, I can be a spiritual master.
Okay.
Meaning guru, meaning acharya and course.
Like picture in the altar and
Yeah.
pranam mantras.
Yeah.
Okay.
Why not?
Okay.
So how do you say that? This is a statement, this is not an order to be a spiritual master. So yes, it kind of presumes that if you know Krishna consciousness, you can be a guru. Order is not important.
Yeah.
Qualification is not important.
Yeah.
Maybe personal achar is not important.
Yeah.
Just knowledge is enough.
Okay. A person who knows the science of Krishna is factually a bona fide spiritual master. So it just talks about knowledge, doesn't talk about qualification or order. So you're asking, okay, how do we process and relate to that?
People can use it.
People could use it, yeah.
Especially the bona fide word can be misunderstanding and misleading for people who don't know.
Yeah, yeah. That's right, Prabhupada used the word. Prabhupada used that term a lot, bona fide.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. I appreciate the discussion and the direction there. So, okay. I mean, we could speak philosophically, and I expect we will, and we have. And I guess what comes to me is more of like personally, I know I'm clear on my role in my service. Okay, I'm clear on my role in my service, and my role in my service is to bring people to Srila Prabhupada. Okay, so I'm coming at this from a few angles here, and so to encourage people to connect with Srila Prabhupada and establish their relationship with Srila Prabhupada, with Srila Divyagan Ride Prakashita, with Srila Prabhupada as the main empowered Vaishnava, giving them transformational, transcendental Divyagan knowledge. So that's my role. So now, let's say if I was a pure devotee, let's say if I was a pure devotee with no anarthas, subtle or gross, then what I would do is I would encourage people to connect with Srila Prabhupada. I would do it more purely and I'd be more effective and I had more potency. Okay. Sometimes in these discussions, I'll say, now, if I knew that there was like a pure devotee on the planet somewhere, maybe in South India or California, if I knew there was a pure devotee somewhere, if I knew for sure, then what I would do is I'd enthusiastically encourage people to connect with Srila Prabhupada. With Srila Prabhupada as the current link to the Parampara. And that confuses most people who are attached to the living guru nonsense. Okay. And then then if I knew there were 10,000 pure devotees somewhere, I would encourage people to connect with Srila Prabhupada. Well, but you would want to like go visit those pure devotees and associate with them. You would encourage others to visit those pure devotees. Let's go. No. No, but there's so many. You want to associate with pure devotees. Look, my service is Srila Prabhupada's movement, and serving Srila Prabhupada's movement, serving Prabhupada's mission. I'm completely fulfilled in who I'm associating with, like you Prabhus and Matajis. My service is not to hop around the globe looking for pure Babajis or pure devotees or whatever. Okay, my service is to serve Srila Prabhupada and to connect others with Srila Prabhupada, to facilitate others in their personal relationship with Srila Prabhupada. And so, and that's not dependent on the level of purity or lack of it of anyone else. Okay, and I find that this is really hard for a lot of people to get. Because often this guru is corrupt. This guru is pure. It kind of and like my stance. And since I've been thinking about, I've been writing about these things for about 25 years, thinking about it for more than that. And my stance is like, this one's corrupt, and that's what even so sometimes we'll hear, because there's no pure devotees. There's no pure devotees, therefore Prabhupada's the current link. And for me, that's actually a painful statement, because the implication is, well, if a pure devotee comes along, and so I'm saying, like, I don't know, and it's truly not for me to say what's in someone's heart in their relationship with Krishna or Srila Prabhupada, someone's purity or lack of it. I know my service, and it's just not dependent on the level of purity or lack of it. So the important thing for me is that Prabhupada's qualified to be the direct and current link to the parampara. And my focus has been to establish that, because there's movement to obscure and kill that truth. Okay, that Prabhupada's fully available. And if someone says, yeah, but for me, my main guru is this one over here or that one over here, or I am the guru now and I have people saying pranams for me or like that, I'm ready to discuss that. At the same time, mainly my stance is where I stand is Prabhupada's fully available to be the current link. And that in any, whether it's an organization, community, household that purports to follow Prabhupada, that Prabhupada is fully available to be the current direct link to Krishna's parampara, that ought to be honored, respected, accepted, and available and accessible. And the reason why I emphasize that so much is because that whole idea, it's taboo to even mention it. You can go to this temple down the road or go down 441. It's taboo to even mention it. Okay. All right. That's why if someone says, okay, well, me or my friend here, we can be bona fide spiritual master. We know the science of Krishna. All right. We could usually, like, what's the point of even going there if someone's not accepting Prabhupada's availability because they're mixing up spirit and matter, right? Like someone needs someone like me with these lungs and these vocal cords. This dead matter is where you really get the spiritual Shakti, whereas Prabhupada's Vani is dead. But sure, we could get more into it, just like one thing is knowing the science of Krishna. No, that means like Vigyan. And we're not going to really have realization of the science of Krishna as long as I'm not maintaining anarthas, even slight enjoyment of being aggrandized or appreciated. And then we're not going to have, so like, right. And of course, then there's the order, there's the order. So there are other elements there are the elements, and where I generally focus is this one's a real guru. This one got there. This one had a dream, and I'm going to go to Vrindavan and get initiated because this Babaji loves Krishna. You might think I'm kind of overly dramatizing, but I'm not. That's the sad thing. Okay, like I've seen even recently, such sentimental slop in the name of like guru stuff. So like, okay, whatever. Just like my stance is that Prabhupada's fully available, and that's complete and perfect. You got some better idea. You're going after this one in this organization as you're going to put them on your altar. Okay, we can discuss that if you want. I'm standing. Prabhupada's fully available. I see a hand up online from Anasuya.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much. I just wanted to share with you that this verse, of course, is always perfect and complete whenever I hear something in class. And I've been in correspondence with Prabhupada Das on the PPTC. So I'm going to be taking part 1 again in July, and I was considering parts 2 and 3. And my heart is really beating fast because it just feels like confirmation. Like this is a real service that I can do for Prabhupada at Prabhupada House in Melrose. And I've been discussing with Lakshmi Priya that, we both have qualities that we bring in service. And so I'd like to offer coaching for those that come to Prabhupada's house. And I'm also looking at retiring at age 62, which actually looking at now the schedule that Prabhupada Das gave to me would be like right when I would be retiring. And then it gives me lots of practice for those that visit. And so I really love the beginning of this verse, that the servants of the Lord are actually the servants of society. And so having this real knowledge and having Prabhupada's books and be able to share this real knowledge is really speaking to me. And I'm encouraged and I'm inspired, and I'm really joyful to provide this type of service in the near future. And so I just wanted to thank you personally and to Mother Melanie for offering such wonderful programs through Salvatore, such as this coaching and counseling opportunity for spirit souls that I may encounter in my journey for the rest of my life on this earth. So Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Mother Anasuya. I appreciate very much your sharing. I'll just mention Anasuya used an acronym PPTC.
Yeah.
It stands for Principles and Practices of Transformative Coaching. And that's one of the coaching courses we offer. All our courses are founded on Prabhupada's Siddhanta. And I'll mention that Mother Anasuya and Mother Lakshmi Priya, they established a project about 2.5 years ago called Prabhupada House in Melrose, Florida. It's about a 30-40 minute drive from here. And I'm moved by your enthusiasm, connected with this verse to cultivate further mastery in the skills and principles of transformational coaching, and to use that to support people to realize who they are as spirit soul, and to support connecting them with Srila Prabhupada. Very inspiring.
Jaya. Jai Prabhupada.
Thank you, Anasuya. Mother Malini?
Just wanted to go back to your question, because I was curious about that too. And there is also flip side of the discussion, maybe, is like looking at bona fide spiritual master. And I'm thinking like often also Srila Prabhupada wants to encourage us. Lord Chaitanya is asking us to be gurus.
Yeah.
And of course, if he's asking us to be gurus, we want to be bona fide gurus.
Yeah.
And if we were waiting to be pure, none of us will preach. None of us will give any, I know for myself, I will not give Bhagavatam class, I will not preach, I will not do anything, because there's always new anartha and, so much in my heart. And so At the same time, in comparison to most of the world, I do know the science of Krishna consciousness.
Yeah.
Maybe I don't know it as much as others, but I know something.
Yeah.
I have some realization and I have some knowledge. And so if I was waiting to be pure, then it could be another trap.
Yeah.
And I believe that sentence could be also seen like that.
Yeah.
That when we are knowledge, let's spread it, let's give it.
Yeah.
Regardless if we are qualified, not qualified. Usually we are not qualified.
Yeah.
And it's not about qualification, it's about becoming an instrument of Guru and Krishna. And so I see that sentence also like that. Yeah.
Thanks for that, Malini. Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. So there are two things which struck a chord with me.
Yeah.
Number one, you were saying is that what if we find a pure devotee?
Yeah.
If he was truly a pure devotee, would he say that? Would that person say that no, do not surrender to Srila Prabhupada?
Great point.
Exactly.
Great point. Wonderful point. Yeah.
You see? So even if you were to go to that pure devotee, what would that pure devotee's version or directive be?
Yeah.
Because he will direct it to the one who is being ordered.
Yeah. Great point. Yeah.
He will never say, no, I'm the pure devotee, I will take you to Krishna.
Yeah.
The moment he says that, then he's no more a pure devotee. So even if you did find a pure devotee, the test of that pure devotee is what is he going to tell you. So that's one. And the second part, which I was referring to his question, is to know encompasses many aspects of the science of Krishna consciousness.
Yeah.
It's not just knowledge.
Yeah.
It is, as she just mentioned right now, as she was answering, Mataji, that knowledge, realizations, practice, how to implement it, and how to engage others in the science of Krishna consciousness.
Yeah.
Everything. If you know everything, all these aspects of Krishna consciousness in totality, you're a bona fide master.
I appreciate the points you make. And then I see a relation between your second point and first point. And then my point of view is, even if someone is truly bona fide, then my belief is what they would do is they would enthusiastically encourage people to develop their personal relationship with Srila Prabhupada, with Srila Prabhupada as their current link to the Parampara. And related to Mother Malini's point, yeah, of course, with whatever we have, Prabhupada wants us to enthusiastically share it, to share the knowledge. In terms of like in Chaitanya Charitamrita, Krishna's Kaviraj Goswami, like he talks about, there's guru in the singular and guru in the plural, right? And Prabhupada wants all of us to be gurus in the plural, right? That we're like if we're asked to give a class, we're in the role of guru. If we have children, we're in the role of guru. If someone's a school teacher, if someone's a supervisor of employees in their business, it's a responsible position, and we want to use that position in a way that represents Prabhupada, and that's guru. Then, as far as guru in the singular, okay, like the guru. So I think it's safe to say we've all had so many gurus who've inspired us in Krishna consciousness. I know I have over the decades. So many persons who've inspired me in Krishna consciousness. Okay, but in terms of like Yasa Prasada, Bhagavat Prasada, Yasa Prasada, Nagati Kutopi, who's the guru? Who's the guru without whose grace I'm finished? And many of those who have inspired me, they have gone their separate ways. They've taken their lives in different directions, and I'm forever indebted to them. Guru in the plural, as far as the guru, to whom I endeavor to absolutely surrender unconditionally. I endeavor to cultivate complete 100% faith. That's Srila Prabhupada. Yasudevi Prabhakti Yata Devi Tagura Tasi Takachitayata Pakshante Mahatmana. That's Srila Prabhupada. So again, like if we look at like Srila Prabhupada established an altar. So we serve the altar that Srila Prabhupada established. Also, different games I'll play sometimes when people, because, in different centers, we don't need to go too far. They got like literally dozens of pictures, and I put this one and then this one, like that. So I'll ask, okay, what are the, let's discuss, what are Prabhupada's instructions about adding pictures to the altar in his centers? So if we examine all of Prabhupada's teachings, we'll find nothing, zero, nothing. So it doesn't mean that no one else is a pure devotee. Because again, sometimes people say, it's like, yeah, Prabhupada's the guru because he knew there was no pure devotees. But then that just leaves the door open. Someone say, yeah, but that was in 1977. But my guru is a pure devotee. For me, it's useless conversation. So we know there's many pure devotees who Prabhupada chose not to put on the altar, right? Because for our particular line of devotion. So, but if someone's going to put a picture on the altar, well, because all the personalities that Prabhupada put on the altar are completely pure, completely free from even any slight tinge of material modes of nature. Okay. And Prabhupada makes it very clear that the acharyas, they're non-different than their picture. They're present simultaneously in millions of places, just like Krishna is present in his deity form. So if someone puts a picture on the altar, even if it's just for half an hour here and there for offering boga or offering arti, if someone puts a picture on the altar of any personality who has even a slight tinge of the modes of material nature, what to speak of a personality who might be grossly affected by gross criminal type of nartas, then that's called idol worship. Then we're worshiping matter as spirit, because that personality is not non-different than their picture. So for the guru in the singular, yeah, there needs to be, for guru in the plural, related to what Malini shared. Yeah, wherever we're at, we can all we're meant to all do our anartha nivritti and see our shortcomings and see our self-deceptions and all of that. And yeah, and it's not like, oh, before I start sharing Bhagavad Gita, I need to memorize the whole Bhagavatam or something like that. No, from wherever we're at, let's share the knowledge. Let's be gurus. That's guru in the plural. And even if there is someone qualified to be guru in the singular, related to what Nilesh Prabhu shared, then my belief is, even if someone is qualified, what they would do is they would just like humbly, with full inspiration, encourage people, surrender to Prabhupada and develop your relationship with him. Thank you. Hare Krishna. Mataji.
First of all, I don't know, Prabhu, I knew this statement would create such a huge so for someone as myself who is compared to all you Prabhu's very unqualified person here, but this is like a fuel to the very reason we're all here together, to, for the people, the so-called gurus. I think they can really latch on to this particular statement and mislead so many people.
Yeah, true.
Completely. But I don't know, a little bit, I would look into it a little bit more for myself, knowing what I already know, thank God, and thank you, Prabhupada, is that grammatically, as you mentioned, it's not the, it's an a bona fide guru.
Yeah, thanks for that. Thanks for
Okay,
that. Yeah.
and so it is not the bona
Yeah.
fide guru. And another thing is bona fide is not quote unquote.
Mm.
You need to know what that means. It's
Yeah.
a general word that's
Yes.
put into it. And a person who knows the science of Krishna, how do you define
Mm.
how much science you know
Yeah.
that would even get you close to anywhere what he's telling us in here?
Yeah.
So, but this statement can be very feeling to those, you know,
Yeah,
it's like, it's a dangerous statement in a way for those who can very easily misinterpret.
Nothing, as the saying goes, nothing is so simple that it can't be misunderstood.
Yeah,
I'm reminded that Prabhupada would say, Krishna consciousness is simple for the simple, complicated for the crooked. So we can take practically anything, including this sentence, and I could misuse it for some twisted personal agenda,
mhm,
or I could see it like, let me be a bona fide spiritual teacher, not a cheater. So let me whatever I share, let it represent Prabhupada.
mhm.
And so I appreciate the points you made, including the linguistic points.
Thank you very much.
Hare Krishna.
Yeah, that was like touching the harnessness, right?
Yeah, it was like the very purpose for together.
Really, but what would be your take on that?
Yes, I was.
My take on that?
Yeah.
How would you answer that? One question.
Something similar to what Prabhu said, Guru on the plural side,
Yeah.
which when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, I give out everybody to be Guru. But, and again, what she said, nice point, is not the bona fide spiritual master. Right, so again, telling that even if you're bona fide and if you're a pure devotee, you would take a humble position because Prabhupada is there.
Living, yes.
Prabhupada is living. So the concept that Prabhupada is living is most important because he has given an order that I am going to be here, Mabu, in my Vani for 10,000 years. And anybody who reads my book, anybody who sincerely serves me, tries to serve me and follow my instruction, my disciple. So when all that is there, it's all pointing towards Prabhupada, no matter what you, how great you are, how pure you are.
I appreciate all those points. And I'm thinking like, because we have the philosophy, we have what Prabhupada established by his personal example. And even in the legal documents, even in his legal documents in Prabhupada's last will, he talks about, the directors of the different centers, and if they pass away or they resign, okay, and then a new director can be approved in this way, and it's imperative that the new director is my initiated disciple. It's in his legal documents. Was Prabhupada thinking that his movement won't last another 20 years? That's a rhetorical question. No, Prabhupada's plans for thousands of years, which means Prabhupada's saying, yeah, I'm going to initiate, he used the term initiated, I'm going to have initiated disciples for hundreds and thousands of years. So, and it's not that, because there's no other pure devotees on the planet. That has nothing to do. That's why I get frustrated, you might be able to tell. I get frustrated when the conversation goes to how pure is this one or that one. It's just like, Prabhupada's fully available to the current link. It's just not dependent on how pure someone else is. And his intention, he even put it legally, is he'll have initiated disciples for thousands of years. Very clear. Oh, I'm sorry, I forgot to put on. Anandini.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you. I appreciate very much your class and also the discussion. I find it so clarifying and encouraging, and like I'm a teacher and I like teaching, and I find teaching about material things more and more empty and boring, and to see, wow, I can teach about Krishna and spiritual knowledge in a way. Yeah, so, and it's even, Srila Prabhupada is even encouraging to do that. So I feel very inspired by that. And a question I have, I mean, also like to speak openly about, yeah, what is Srila Prabhupada's teaching about gurus and guru and how it's gets mystified. I find that very inspiring. But the question I have is, where is it written in the Shastras, or where does this come from that Srila Prabhupada is the guru, the one guru for the next thousands of years? I'm curious about that.
Would you like to respond, Prabhu? Okay. Srila Prabhupada might certainly be the one current link for the next thousands of years. I'll say that that's not my stance. That's not my, like, I'm not saying Prabhupada's not. And I'm just saying, like, that's not where I come from. It's not where I come from. Where I come from is Prabhupada's fully available to be the current link to the Parampara. And it's important for me to stand that way because there's just like intense movements to bury Prabhupada, Vapu and Bani, to relegate Prabhupada as some obscure historical footnote. So because the culture in many organizations purporting to represent Prabhupada is that Prabhupada's not available. So I'm standing that Prabhupada is available to be the direct and current link to the Parampara. Prabhupada might be the only bona fide current link to the Parampara for the next 9,500 years. I don't know for sure that he is. He might be. I might even be 99.9% sure that he is. For me, what's important, because people right now, for the most part, they come, like, so many, in the name of Krishna consciousness, they're using Prabhupada as their dog. They're using Prabhupada as their dog, right? Using what Prabhupada gave, the Maha Mantra, even Prabhupada's books and whatever, some adulterated form, using the temples. They're using Prabhupada because he has potency and he has credibility to bring them in to their wicked agendas, to their twisted agendas. They're using Prabhupada as their dog in different ways. Okay, and their agenda is part of their agenda is Prabhupada is not available to be the current link. So I'm saying Prabhupada's completely, he's living, he's alive, he's fully available to be the current direct link to Parampara. If someone says, but someone else is bona fide too, I'm like, I hope that works for you. You know, my service is to present Srila Prabhupada. That's where I come from. I don't come from Prabhupada's the only way, though he might be the only way. That's not where I come from.
What exactly that says is Prabhupada's statement.
Yeah.
Reference, maybe she was asking where does it come from in the Shastras.
Yeah.
We're talking about the statement Prabhupada made. My book is relevant for next 10,000 years, which means he continues to instruct for next 10,000 years. That's Prabhupada's own statement. My books will be relevant for 10,000 years. So that's the whole point.
Yeah.
He doesn't say that I will be the guru for next 10,000 years.
He doesn't say what?
He doesn't say that I will be the guru for next 10,000 years. He says that my books will be relevant for next 10,000 years. So when he says my book is relevant for 10,000 years, what does he say in his books?
Yeah.
So he's instructing spiritual master or whatever he can take for next 10,000 years. So it's not that he doesn't say that, or the Shastra doesn't say that, or no Purana has predicted that Prabhupada will be the spiritual master for 10,000 years.
Yeah.
But we are referring to what Prabhupada himself said,
Yeah.
that my books will be relevant for next 10,000 years.
Yeah. Thanks for that.
Go ahead.
There'll be another connotations to it is that Prabhupada has given us a very clear time frame through the Shastras that the Kali Yuga is going to last for 432,000 years.
Yeah.
We lived about 5,000 years, and he's creating an urgency within us by saying, my books will be available only for the next 10,000 years. If you do not use this opportunity, you will miss it. And then you will be suffering for the remaining 418,000 years in this Kali Yuga if you don't grab this opportunity now, right now, and immediately.
Finish your business this lifetime.
Correct.
Prabhupada creating urgency.
Prabhupada is creating urgencies that you miss this boat, I don't know what's going to happen.
I appreciate that viewpoint. Thank you.
Hare Krishna. I don't know anything about scriptures. I'm the least qualified around here, as I mentioned earlier, but for me to respond to that question, I just have something of my own input, is that why worry about scriptures? Scriptures are there to help you understand the real knowledge, which we're getting right now about Krishna, spirit, soul, and serving him with devotional service. That's scriptures. That's what you want to follow scriptures for. As far as the spiritual master, just take a look at Prabhupada's achievement. You show me one person who has come even 10% close enough what he has achieved. And if that doesn't blind you, I don't know what else are we looking for. I mean, that alone to me is a proof that he is the bona fide spiritual master. No one can achieve what he has achieved without Krishna's direct mercy completely upon him. Simple to me is that.
Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Thank you, Mataji. Anandini, would you like to close with some comment since you started this recent hornet's nest?
Well, I appreciate the responses, and I'm getting clarity. I'm not doubting at all.
Yeah.
I'm just asking to have something I could argument with to someone else who asked this question. So what I'm getting is that what Srila Prabhupada gives to us, it's available. It's not going to be crushed by time, at least not in the next 10,000 years.
What he gives to us and him personally.
And him personally. And the system he set up, it's like, it's available. And that's like, that's essence, and that's what he's giving to us. What will happen, we don't know.
I appreciate your process and your comments. Yeah, the system Prabhupada established for essential and formal initiation is that even before November 14th, 1977, Srila Prabhupada formally initiated hundreds, if not thousands of disciples without the initiates having any physical interface whatsoever with Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada didn't even send them a letter of acceptance. Srila Prabhupada didn't conduct their initiation ceremony. Srila Prabhupada didn't chant on their japa beach. They never saw Prabhupada at an airport or a temple. No physical interface whatsoever. Yet Srila Prabhupada essentially and formally was and is their Diksha Guru. That's the system Prabhupada established, and that system continues to be fully alive and valid. If someone says, but I have a different system that's also valid. Okay, wish you well. We're presenting Prabhupada in the system that he established. Thank you, Anandini.
Thank you.
Srimad Bhagavatam ki. Srila Prabhupada ki. Hare Krishna. Thank you.